not a line. It was a line that theoretically existed that was always killing your end board.
Yeah.
Every time. 10 out of 10 times. You were compromising pretty much the entire end board just to grab Max C. And you know what? Usually got punished for it.
Yep. And I lost that misplay.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah. I attacked into a Horus card while King Sark was on the field, and would have removed King Sark first.
Yeah, you forgot about the dongle effect.
Yep, and now they just have everything on board and they can kill me.
Well,
I lost to a nonsense pile. I like I said, I have to look at their deck to see what the heck they're playing.
Probably lost to someone trying to jam a Horus deck, or a really lucky Masochist list. Or some people have started doing Masochist with selection packs, so you might have lost to that. Oh god, if you lost to selection pack and master pack, if you lost to a selection pack Masochist, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. Not
no,
because you lost
it's
to
a real deck from the looks of it. Okay. It's just very confusing.
Not because I wouldn't laugh because you lost to it. It's just that particularly is so fucking funny.
Huh?
God fucking damn it. YouTube ended my fucking...
Oh.
Ow. I dropped my phone.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay. The weirdest card here that I'm seeing is 1-for-1. They don't have... Or sorry, they do have a level 1. It's Effect Veiler. They have 1-for-1 to special summon Effect Veiler.
Yeah, it bounced off of my foot. But
oh.
It didn't hurt, but it was uncomfortable.
There is so much wrong with this deck.
Show me a screenshot.
You can look at my strength.
I cannot.
Oh.
I am currently operating my own.
I see.
Which is currently capturing a browser, and I don't want to...
No, that's fair.
Altergeist!
Alright, hang on that. I will send screenshot from OBS.
Altergeist! Wait. Oh my god, they're gonna do the thing where you use your bridge to get your first card back. They're gonna add They're not starting multi... Aw. I thought they were gonna add Malwiz. Hey, now I'm saying. Now I'm saying. Not the
It's
rock.
a pile deck, but it's a pile of good is the problem.
Ah. What in the name of a French Skittles factory am I looking at?
You were looking at mostly Bestial plus Horus, plus also Red Dragon Archfiend for some reason.
I mean, that's just extra deck filler, it looks like.
Well, no, they actively can summon it.
Being extra deck filler does not mean you can't summon it. It just means, I have nothing else. This could come up.
I guess, but
I run Scarlight in a bunch of decks on Master Duel because it's
Crimson
just like
Gaia Vision Resonator. Like I feel like they're actively trying to make Red Dragon here.
This is such a weird deck.
It really is.
It looks funny. It looks funny.
Like I said, it's a pile of good cards.
Yeah.
I still don't understand the 1-for-1 Effect Veiler summon. Because I don't think you can go into anything with that. Yeah, they can't use Effect Veiler as a tuner. They don't have a level 9 or anything.
Yeah, they don't have 7s to use with the Bestials.
They don't have 7s, they don't have 9s.
5s.
They don't have Light Charmer, they have Dark Charmer, but they don't have Light Charmer.
2s. You can use it for IP and SP.
I guess.
Oh, you can use it with Red Eye's Metal Dragon and an 8 to make Dissipator or Chaos Angel.
Both of those are level 10. How does Red Eyes?
Red Eye's Metal Dragon, not Darkness Metal Dragon. Red Eye's Metal Dragon is a 1.
Oh, Black Metal Dragon.
1,
right.
1, 8.
Yeah, okay, I see the line, I guess.
Yes. Plus, you now have a light and a dark if they go into Chaos Angel that way.
Yeah.
I don't imagine they actually did that, but it's also just any 10 you can go into, and if it's with that line, it also enables you to go into Dissipator, and because they're lights and darks, you could also go into the chunky boy.
Yeah. This is just weird.
I hate that YouTube randomly last week has just decided to consistently start fucking ending my fucking streams. It's so annoying. It's fucking infuriating. The setting is off.
I guess you
could
just changed how they handle disconnects.
No.
Like, regardless of the setting, I think maybe they just changed how they handle it entirely.
No, they didn't.
Oh.
No, the problem is probably a third-party service that I'm using, but YouTube... Because YouTube was doing this at first when I started using this service. And then it stopped. Consistently stopped doing this. And I was like, thank fuck. And then it just randomly started the week before last, and it has not stopped every single time. It's acting like Twitch, and it's very frustrating.
Ah.
There's literally no fucking reason for it. It's just, I'm using a piece of technology, so it's fucking broken, and that's really all there is to it. Alright, I wasn't looking because I was fucking trying to fix shit after YouTube decided to fuck me over. Fuck did we end on?
What do you mean you have 2 imperms?
Yeah, I don't know why imperm's not once per turn. Not like from a balance thing. I just don't understand how it was printed in like 2018. And it was late 17, early 18. And it's not a once per turn. It shocks me.
I mean, I can still play through it. It's just like, what do you mean you have 2 of them?
I think the thing that sucks most about modern Altergeist is not only is the deck really inconsistent and needs specific 2-card combos to do things that other decks like it can do with much less effort and more consistency, but also it lost one of the things that made it unique in that its traps were as important as its monsters, and now that's just not the case.
Right.
Monsters are way more important now.
I mean, that's kind of how most Yu-Gi-Oh! Is balanced, is around the monsters.
Yeah,
but... It's unfortunate because there are decks that don't do that, and it's neat when they don't. And
the thing is...
Yeah, it sucks when they switch it up on you, but, like, I get it.
I don't. I don't in the case of Altergeist. This is an anime deck that is also a former meta deck that is also a popular deck. I don't get why, with one exception, and that exception is Labyrinth, exists. And I think that they didn't want to boost up the trap deck as a trap deck when it might impact sales of other sets around it that had the other newer trap deck that they were going to support more in the near future.
Maybe.
If it was even out when Geist got their stuff. If not, they probably knew they had another trap deck in the pipeline. Because between that and Dinomorphia, I mean, even if they're not anime decks, you know, and they're new. I mean, that's the thing. Is they're new. Labs got, you know, females in a card game, so you know how that's going to sell. It's just like, I hate it, but it's... Yep.
Oh, I've been lava golemed.
Fucking... The worst thing about YouTube ending my streams, too, is it's not ending them when I disconnect. It is ending them when I reconnect.
Right.
Consistently. That's what fucking
It is weird that it
it
ends them on a reconnect. That's very weird.
I think that it's an interaction with the third-party service in YouTube, or it's just a bug with YouTube itself. I really don't know which. The service that I use on Reconnect should be streaming to the... Well, it is streaming to the exact same stream key of the initial stream. So it has to be on YouTube's end then. Because it's streaming to the key of the initial stream. When that fails, it starts a new stream. Why that's failing, I don't understand. Holy fucking bingle, Squidward. It's not ended? Yes, it is. This is a different stream. You're looking at a different stream, Oak. I haven't bothered changing the thumbnail. The weird thing is, when I end stream manually, YouTube still frequently leaves the stream hanging, like you've seen it do countless times. So, when I want the stream to end, it does not work. And when I don't, fuck me.
YouTube is a strange platform.
Yeah, it's really great that it's just being as fucking problematic as Twitch recently. It's just great, you know. I just want both platforms to not function. That's all I've ever wanted in life, is to use two non-functioning things at the exact same time every day of my life as my only source of income.
When you ask for both platforms to be on par with each other, and the monkey's paw curls.
Yeah, to be fair, I never asked for both to be on par with each other. I just asked for one to not suck. Repeatedly asked for one to not suck.
Well, now you have two that suck.
I already had two that suck. They're just starting to suck in the same ways instead of different ones.
Yeah.
Not really instead of, but more in addition to. This person is playing Melodious Voiceless Voice.
I see.
This is probably the least ethical Melodious gameplay you're ever gonna see. And it's probably because it involves Voiceless Voice.
That reminds me, a game I had earlier while you were still muted vacuuming stuff was against Ishki Sprite.
Oh. The myth.
Also known as they managed to put an entire 5 floodgates on board.
Wait, where do floodgates come into the equation? It's Gishki Sprite. What floodgates?
Ishki has a floodgate ritual monster. And
then
just the sprite flood. Well, they did. Why? And then just the sprite cards that negate stuff. I guess they're not actual floodgates, but many negates.
But you just make... But Sprite Gishki is only trying to make the...
But they also had IP on board with Sprite Elf. Like, they cooked.
But Gishki Sprite is just trying to make the big boy.
Correct.
With their Sprite plays, but they're just trying to make the chunky boy. It's like a level 10 or something.
Correct.
What the fuck? So it was a bad Gishki Sprite. but it worked
Yes,
anyway.
but they got everything they wanted turn 1, so I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
But it was just weird, because, like, I've never seen Gishki Sprite before. I've barely seen Gishki.
Of course you've barely seen Gishki. Fucking... It had an FTK legal for like a week that no one played because it was hard to pilot and took forever. And then it got nuked. And then it fell off the face of the earth until it got support featuring a level 2 and a good ritual. And then Sprite got obliterated. And by the time that all of the stuff needed was in Master Duel, Sprite was just out of the meta. So of course you've never played against Gishki. Like, oh, I've never played against Gusto. Yeah? Reasonable. However, neither have I. But I know what Freeze does.
My opponent is letting me go first.
That one Duel Live that I watched, and I think that it was on stream, where somebody died to Freeze because they didn't read it. So if you don't know, Gusto's main boss monster, your opponent takes damage that you would take from the battles.
Right.
The opponent just combos off. Hit into Freeze. Take a shitload of damage.
Yep.
Hit into Freeze. Take a bunch of damage. Hit into Freeze. Die.
Yep.
And it's funny because at 2 points in the combo, they popped cards with effects that could have popped monsters, but they popped the back row. And they just didn't read Freeze.
Yu-Gi-Oh moment.
It was great. It was great. I wish Gusto was better, but, you know, Gusto's really good in a meta where people can't read.
Yep. I do want to play Gusto at some point. I've always been interested in that deck.
Yeah, just wait until they get their new shit. They're going through all of the lore decks from before Brains, so they'll get something eventually. Right. I like when I say that Gusto should get support and that Gusto will get support from this. And they're like, Gusto got support like 3 years ago. And it's like 2 cards that don't actually do anything. They do a lot, but the deck is so bad that no, they don't. You're like, oh, look at the aroma cards Plant Link uses. Yeah, those don't do anything. They're great for Prant Link. Puranto Rinku. But no, they're great for Plant Link. But like, a Foolish Burial and Aroma does literally nothing. Oh boy, I can summon back a frickin' the old level one. I don't remember which one it was. Oh great. What am I gonna do? Overlay them for Recital Starlight? Pivot to a Lyralus combo? I think you can't do that. I think the Foolish Burial locks you into plants. But that's a funny thought. Pivoting from Aroma into Lyralus. Speaking of Lyralus, wrapping this back around to upcoming Master Duel format. Did you know Lyralus is in the same pack as Lunalight, which is why I have Lyralus in Master Duel?
Neat.
Do you know why they're in the same pack?
Lore reasons, question mark?
Yes. Are you familiar with Arc 5?
No.
Okay. You should watch it. A lot of people don't like the second half of the anime. I did. I would also recommend watching the dub, even if you don't normally, because okay, mini tangent. So, I remember when I was watching through Arc 5, and I was in a couple Discords sharing my thoughts on the show as I went through it, and this was during the second half of Reigns.
Uh-huh.
And I was sharing my thoughts on Arc 5, and there were a lot of people like, wait till you get to this part. Yu's going to be the most insufferable, in-your-face thing about his whole smile deal, and, you know. And I'm like, oh god, it's going to get so bad. And then, I got there. And he wasn't. He's actually very tame about it. Because he has this whole thing where, you know, he wants everyone to smile. He wants everyone to see the bright side of things. He wants everyone to be happy. Whatever. Cool. Good for him.
Yep.
And he still does it in the Xyz dimension.
Right.
But in the dub, and this is important, in the dub, he's very tame about it. He's not trying to just, like, jam it in anyone's face. He seems to understand that he's in a war-torn planet trying to tell these people to cheer up. All right. A whole-ass planet has been decimated by this war from invaders from another dimension. Well, apparently, come to find out, I got a bunch of people being like, what do you mean he's not that bad? He was so in your face about it. And then one person comes in and goes, wait, you watching dub or sub? And I'm like, dub. That's how I watch all of my anime. And he's like, oh, yeah, I've seen both. They actually fixed his character in the dub in that part. And I'm just sitting there like... Yeah, so the dub apparently fixed, like, one of the most annoying elements of the protagonist in a particular section of the show. And I think that's hilarious.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's probably something that shouldn't have needed fixing, but it's actually kind of cool that the dub just takes that section with a little bit of questionable writing. Now, I've never watched it sub, so I don't know if it's as bad as everyone was saying either. But yeah, it takes a section that a lot of people don't like, and then a lot of people don't write that section, to be fair. But it takes a section that a lot of people don't like, and it actually fixes the entire problem with one aspect of that section. And I think that's genuinely sick. I love when the dubs have a chance to do that and then just roll. But yeah, so in Arc 5, Yuya and Zuzu, the lead protag and the lead female, have dimensional counterparts in each of the 4 dimensions. Yuya has Perform a Paladin's Magician. When all 4 of them are fused, it's Zark. And then his 3 counterparts use Predaplant, fucking Phantom Knights, and Speedroid. Zuzu's counterparts, she uses Melodious. Her counterparts use Lunalight, Lyralusk, and Windwitch. Now, with that information, and knowing that Lunalight and Lyralusk are down, I did this in the weirdest way, and I'm mangling my hand to do this. I'm holding out my thumb and my ring finger, and this hurts like hell. I'm gonna stop now. Because I did Melodious with my thumb, and then I did the next 3 with my next 3 fingers, and I put 2 down because Lyralusk and Lunalight are in a pack. With that information, what do you think Windwitch is in a pack with? It's in with Melodious. Now,
I was trying to think of a funny archetype. That was probably wrong.
Now, do you know what one deck that I wanted to build for a couple of years now in Master Duel, but never did because it takes a lot of generics and I need UR material for them, and one upcoming deck that's probably also going to take some UR material are Windwitch and Lyralusk, or not Lyralusk, Windwitch and Melodious.
I see.
I've wanted to build Windwitch almost since I started playing Master Duel, but it's just so many synchro URs for just no reason. I've wanted to play Melodious in Master Duel since I touched the new stuff in TCG. And their old stuff is in the same secret pack. It's crazy. And of the old stuff, you know how many URs I'm going to need between the 2 of them?
None?
No, no, unfortunately not. I am going to need at most 6 URs from the secret pack.
That's not too bad.
That is assuming, because it's 2 3-ofs. That's assuming neither of those 3-ofs are in the selection pack, which they have done for important URs before. But it also assumes that I don't rip them out of some random pack that I open from just getting a free pull from something or another in between there, which is unlikely, but not impossible.
It happens.
And if I finish the current battle pass, I will have almost enough material to just do everything if I can pull like 2 more URs for Zark.
Right.
It's kind of insane. I could finish Zark right now. The reason I'm not is because I don't know when Melodious is coming, and that's taking priority. Ugh, Melodious is just such a cool deck in its current iteration. I don't know if you've seen what current TCG Melodious does.
Not really. You keep asking me if I know what this deck or that deck does, and like I would like to reiterate, I have played 3 decks in my entire life.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I don't know what you've read though.
I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Okay, I don't know what you've looked at the words on. I don't know what you've seen replays of. Fucking. So what they do is that, well, this is gonna shock you, but it's a fusion deck.
I see.
I know, shocking. So basically, though, what they do is, let me just go into solo mode with this. Why is this only 20 cards? Thinking. All right, cool. My Melodious deck for TCG format just doesn't exist, so I'll load up my my Valkyrie list. So they do cool stuff. They have it's either 6 or 9 1-carders, and I've seen none of them. And basically, their end board is a multi DD Crow, a phase that bounces, and sometimes a couple more points of interaction.
Right.
But they get there really efficiently. It's nothing terrible to play around. For most decks, you're probably not going to like playing against it. Because it is a multi-DD Crow, a phase that bounces, so it dodges removal and bounces your stuff. And that alone is, oops. But, it's kind of cool. Their new pens are really nice, too. It's pretty spicy, honestly. So we dump like this and this. No, man. I'm showing chat, but I don't actually know off the top of my head what we're fucking doing with this deck. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm doing a stupid line.
Hey, hold on. Stop being stupid. How dare you take my territory, you fuck.
We exist in very similar territories, friend.
Why did I exit my deck when I'm literally about to add a card? Oh, they also have a funny, so they have a Poplar effect, but they also don't at the same time.
I see.
So the effect reads, are you ready for this? If this card is added to your hand except by drawing it, you can reveal this card. Special summon 1 level 4 or lower Melodious from your hand or graveyard.
Okay.
It's not a level 4 or lower, so it can't summon itself, but any other Melodious.
My opponent just effect veilered me twice.
You fucked idiot.
They tried it with the first time. I called by it, and they popped the second one. I was sitting here wondering why they weren't playing cards, because they bricked into nothing but an effect failure.
That's... And then we do... this. No, okay, sorry. We actually want this here. And then we do this. And then we pitch this because it's irrelevant. And then we summon out you. And is it different names or different levels? I don't remember. It is different levels, okay. Okay. And then dueling book freeze.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a very, very functional application. Aha! There it is. This deck is so cool. I love it. This. This. And... is this, right? Maybe? I don't fucking know. Oh, it needs two. Okay.
Was this the correct time to activate Sunny? I may have messed up.
And the best part is, we can go even further beyond. So funny.
I can still hit you, can't I?
This one's just two. Right?
I can.
This does you, and then you, and then makes you, and it does that, which lets me scale, which puts you here, and you here, and just like that, we've played Melodious.
But does that not end the battle phase now?
Wait, what doesn't end the battle phase?
Photon Jumper. It tries to activate the end of...
I'm just imagining Galaxy Ice Photon Dragon wearing a sweater.
Oh no, it does end the battle phase. Never mind.
Aw. I
was about to be
the
really
image pop
funny.
into my head of Photon Jumper British. Oh my god.
I mean, he do look kind of British, though.
Why is Despian Proskenian on the field? Staring down a 3-mat Zeus. I'm so confused. Oh my god, it's goblins. I'm watching...
nuts?
Yeah, it's Goblin D's. There was a failed attempt to puppet lock thanks to Macrocosmos, or D-Fissure, or whatever the fuck one this is.
I see.
Poopy Stinky Doodoo Head number 17. That's what we're gonna call this one.
Correct.
Alrighty then. Now it's a 1-mat Zeus. Alrighty then. What a strange game to have stumbled across. Maybe they're
a strange game for my rank up match too.
Maybe they're gonna summon Borreload Furious Dragon. It's a cool tech. I think the problem is every time. So the biggest issue with it in Branded is that every time you would go into it, you know what you can go into instead? Mirror Jade.
Yep.
But if I don't know, you're staring down Imperial Iron Wall. Okay, I can see the use case. Actually, if you're staring down Imperial... oh my god. Staring down Imperial Iron Wall, I could genuinely see that. Yeah, hold on, wait a minute. Because that just blows up the Iron Wall. And then if you have any more extension, you can still make Mirror Jade. Wait a minute. No one's playing Imperial Iron Wall. But, hypothetically, in theory, game theory.
I love that people constantly think tribute effects can pass through Baguska. Because then they just clear their board for me.
Because it's worded like Mech Knights, isn't it?
Maybe.
I want to say it's worded like the Mech Knight back row. So the way the Mech Knight back row works is that the cards say that they negate the effects of, depending on which one, monster, spell, or trap that were activated in the same column as a Mech Knight monster you control. Yep. Now, in Master Duel, unless this is a bug that's been fixed since the last time I played Mech Knights, because I have like a bajillion decks on Master Duel at this point, and I cycle through them. I haven't played Mech Knights in like 6 months. But on Master Duel, the way that it works is that checks the column they're in when they activate and when the effect resolves. So if they activate it while staring at a Mech Knight, it'll be negated, even if that Mech Knight isn't in the column at resolution. As long as that Mech Knight's still on the field. But also, if you move a Mech Knight with Shifty Boy, and they're in the column the effect was activated in, it also still negates. I don't know if that's how it works in TCG, but that's how it works in Master Duel, which means that's how it works in OCG, apparently. So that's
Have
funny.
I hit the maximum of legacy tickets?
How many do you have?
I don't know, but apparently there's some in my gift box now because I can't have any more. I am at 998.
Ah, the limit is 999.
Yeah.
But you get them in multiples
they're sets
of 2.
Of 3. They're in there in sets of 3 in my gift box for some reason, but yeah.
What the fuck? How?
I think you can get legacy tickets from the gifts at the end of a duel, like the random rewards.
Yeah, but I thought they came in 1s and 2s.
I guess I just got enough to stack all at once.
Oh, by the way, unrelated. Can we just talk about the fact that if Branded didn't fusion lock, they'd be a really good Xyz deck?
Yeah.
It's a bunch of level 4s and 8s. Throw in the Bistials, yeah. You've got 6s. I mean, 4, 6, 8, you've got so much utility in that toolbox. Xyz Branded is the spiciest shit. That doesn't work, but it's so close.
It does not.
If the deck were 2 years newer, it probably would.
Yeah.
Branded Galaxy Photon. You can hit the Bistials or your branded pieces, or the Galaxies or your branded pieces with your Bistials. Oh my god. Photon Strike.
Oh no, I can't. I can't use legacy packs in intervals of 1 because I have more than 10. Or more than 100.
You can't use them in intervals of 1 if you have more than 1.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, between 1 and 10, it's use all of them. And then 11 and above, it's use 10 of them or use all of them.
I see.
Yeah. I know this because I sat on 300 for a while and I eventually just cracked them open, but...
Well, apparently since I'm full, it's time for me to pull 1,000 legacy cards.
Yeah, see if you can grab Swap Frog. That's 2 per pack, so you're actually pulling like 2,000.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you're getting 2,000 cards, holy shit.
3 URs in the first 100 open. Number 3, Cicada King. Jinzo Laird. And Trishula, Dragon of Icy Imprisonment.
Fusion Trish, my favorite.
I mean, Fusion Trish is actually pretty good. I used it for a while in Duel Links back when I played that.
Okay, that's Duel Links. That doesn't count. That's like the one time. That's like the one time we were talking about like decks that have never been good and could probably use a helping hand, and Red Eyes came up, and there was this one person that was trying so hard to insist, no, Red Eyes has been a good deck before, and they had 3 stages that they went through for their argument of why Red Eyes was a good deck, and you're gonna, yeah, I can tell by your laughing, you're probably gonna love this already. So their first argument was,
I think I remember this conversation.
I might have told you about this conversation already, yeah.
So this might have been when we were doing the Duel Box. Or the Cube, or whatever.
No. This happened in a server you're not in.
Oh.
But I might have told you about it when we were doing the Cube. I don't know. So their first argument was, well, Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon was really strong for years.
That is an individual card.
Correct. Their second argument was that Baby Red Eye's Metal Dragon is really good in Dragon Link. It has been for years. That is an individual card. And their third argument was that Red Eyes was rogue and really popular in Duel Links for a while. And I'll grant you that one's not incorrect. But the discussion was clearly about paper play.
Yeah.
Those were like the 3 points that they were hinging on. Was just like, no. Look. See, it's... And it's just like, okay, buddy.
Duel Links should be like more of a format than just the side game. Like there should be a paper Duel Links format.
It's called Speed Duel. It's a thing.
Sort of. Except Speed Duel was put in Duel Links as a different format, so that doesn't count.
No. You're thinking of Rush Duel.
Oh. Duel Links I'm sorry, they're not the same thing.
Yeah, well, don't worry. Then there's also Turbo Duels. The amount of duel types that are go fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turbo Duels were fun in Duel Links. I remember those.
But Speed Duels are a further curated, hindsight using, and more nostalgia baity version of what Duel Links Speed Duel is.
Right.
So there are things that we got in Duel Links that in their equivalent paper Speed Duel formats we're never going to get. Like, we're never going to get For Hire in paper Speed Duel. Even if we get to a point where, like, I mean, okay, well, if we get to, like, Rain's Era, we might get them. Hell, if they push Speed Duel to Zexal Era, I could see it happening. But, we're not, For Hire's not coming in GX Era. Even if it does eventually come. But it's also not going to come. That. But it's also not going to come for a long time, just because people are, at this point, half the reason to play Speed Duel is that you're playing an old format, but a much more curated version of it. We have Goat format at home. We have Glad Beast format at home, etc. Like they added some stuff for the Sacred Beasts, but not much. It's like 2 of its monsters. But one thing they do as well is when a deck is too good, regardless of skills, they will change what cards they give it in Speed Duel, coming out of Duel Links. So when they got to GX, they nerfed Cyber Angel from Duel Links to paper Speed Duel. Cyber Angel got the other big ritual instead of Dakini, because Dakini was what enabled the deck to be so good in that same era of Duel Links, and they didn't want it to happen in paper. So there have been a couple of instances like that where a card is too good so it won't get ported, or a deck is too good so it gets ported differently to nerf it, or a deck isn't good enough so they give it more to buff it, and it's like, yeah, okay, well. But unfortunately it's a completely different format. I do think that a paper equivalent to Duel Links, where all that you'd remove is like random skills, would be kind of cool, but the issue with that is that one advantage of Duel Links you'd lose by having a paper format is the ability to just on the fly change whatever skills you want.
Yeah.
And like, card erratas are already difficult enough to maintain if you're not reprinting every single card you ever errata, which, to be fair, Yu-Gi-Oh! Tends to do. But to have to do it every time you change a skill, to have to print all of those sets as well in the same format, or at least a comparable one, so that cards are reasonable to acquire, and it's just...
Oh, cool, I pulled Link Spider.
Lonk Spoder.
And Link Bumper. I've never seen this card before in my life. What is this?
What is a Link Bumper?
Two Cyberus monsters. Once per turn, at the end of the damage step, if your monster this card points to attacked an opponent's Link monster, you can activate this effect. The monster that attacked gains 1 additional attack on an opponent's Link monster during this battle phase for each Link monster you currently control except this card.
Take a shot every time the card says Link monster.
Your monsters except that monster cannot attack the turn you activate this effect.
I thought I was going to say cannot attack Link monsters.
By the way, it points up and left, so it can only point the one monster I control.
That's hilarious. It has update jammer arrows.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's so funny. That sounds so awful. I love it.
Very strange card.
Very strange card.
That was also the last of the 1,000 polls.
No. That's incredible.
Uh-huh.
I'm watching you Bell play against Labyrinth right now.
I see.
We have stun at home. Lab is just stun at home.
I am going to hang out in VC, but I'm going to F in for a minute while I end my stream.
I'm going to watch the clock. If he ain't back in a minute, chat, file a little lawsuit. I don't know for what. But I'll do it. I will. Fear me.
Okay, hello, stream has ended.
Oh, I see that. Well, I would, you know, I would do the usual thing, but I don't think I need to.
Not really, no. I'm raiding with just myself, but it was funny. I started to say I'm not going to raid anybody because the person I normally raid is in call with me already. Oh, wait.
Oh, wait. Reminds me that one time that we were doing an Among Us stream, and I was gonna end, and then everyone else that was live raided me, including EQ. And I was just like, fine, I'll play Xenoblade for 2 hours. And so I did. I was just like, well, I can't end now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am excited for the upcoming Master Duel format. I think that, like, we're finally starting to see them use Master Duel's, like, split release schedule from TCG and OCG to their advantage, and I hope that we keep it up. What I want to see is the next selection pack or the next two I need to see within the next 2 selection packs, not counting the ones that are coming up. I mean,
yeah, the ones that have just been announced or whatever. Within
the next 4, I'll say, because I guess technically we don't know everything in the Xyz one. Within the next 4 selection packs, I want to see Tenpai and Gimmick Puppet. Because if we get those soon, it means that they're getting ready for a format without those in Snake Eye. And that is good.
Yeah. I'm hoping Fiendsmith comes to Master Duel soon.
I don't know if I want Fiendsmith yet. I think I would prefer to wait a little bit.
For me, it's basically just because I want to try Fiendsmith Live Twin, because that's apparently a deck.
Yeah, you have.
And I have no other decks that I want to pull for right now, and I'm sitting at almost max gems.
Almost max free gems.
Correct.
Because the cap is higher for paid gems. It's like 3 times as high for some reason. If there even is one. There might not have been one for paid gems. I'm maybe thinking of a different game where it's triple. I genuinely do not remember.
I don't know. I've never put money into this game.
I have put about $60 into Master. I've paid full game's price worth.
That's fair. I sort of have that philosophy with free games. You know, like I'm okay spending a full game's worth of money on it.
For me, it depends on the game and what I'm spending the money on. I've put about...
It does depend on stuff, yeah, that's fair.
You know, I'm willing to spend more money for Smite and Paladin stuff than I would for other games. Because Hi-Rez, from what is public knowledge, seems to be a good company. They make good games that are honestly just genuinely better games than their competitors, despite the flaws caused by the low budgets. And I'm okay with spending money, and I really like Paladin's Smite Rogue Company. I stopped spending money on Rogue Company when it went down the drain because it was clear that the game was getting worse. It was clear that it wasn't getting better. But while I was comfortable supporting the game, I probably spent low triple digits on Rogue Company. Just buying battle passes mostly. And I'm okay with that. I'm still okay with that even if it didn't happen.
I didn't get too far into Rogue Company with purchasing stuff because I didn't really play enough to worry about the battle passes. But
yeah, it's fair.
Like, yeah, I dropped a fair bit of money on it when I was playing it, when it was good.
I've put a good chunk of money into Smite and Paladins, especially.
Yeah.
One game that I'm more on the fence on the money that I've spent on it, and that I definitely won't be for a long time, is Dokkan Battle. It's a gacha game, but look, for what it is one of the better ones. It's one of the most free-to-play friendly gacha games you're going to find. You don't need to spend money on Dokkan. It's a gacha game, and it has all of the things that suck about gacha games. They try to get you to spend more and more and more. But you don't have to. And that is a huge thing to Dokkan's credit, that they have been improving since literally the 2nd anniversary of the game.
Yeah.
They hit the 2-year mark, and they're like, no, you know what? Let's just get on top of this. And to be fair, some of the changes that they've made happened because of pressure from legal systems in countries that the game was making a lot of money in.
Right.
But the changes happened.
Yeah.
You know, they could have absolutely rigged it. They have made changes for specific regions, despite the fact that there are 2 versions of the game, Japan and not Japan. Right. But they've made changes to the global version where certain features are restricted or disabled entirely in one region. They can absolutely rig things in Dokkan to function differently, but they don't.
Right. Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, okay.
I mean, like, I know I said I haven't spent any money on Master Duel, but, like, I am more willing to spend money for microtransactions on a game that doesn't force me to spend money on microtransactions.
The more free-to-play friendly a game is, the more leniency I will give its microtransactions.
Yeah, correct.
I will always defend Need for Speed Payback's microtransactions because they are cosmetic only, and the cheaper option in them can literally be earned 1 for every 10 minutes, instead of, I think it was $3. It's not even worth $3, just spend the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because there's an oval trek in the game that takes like 3 minutes to run. It's literally, it's under 3 minutes to run, and it's you know, that plus load times, you're about 10 minutes. And it's not cosmetic only. You can get upgrades for your cars, but you get those by completing the race anyway. So again, it really doesn't matter. And it's like, EA of all companies actually did really good microtransactions. There were exclusive cosmetics that you could only get with the premium ones, which you could also earn if you had the deluxe edition of the game. Now, you would earn them very few and far between. It was every, like, 10 or 15 or something. I think it was every 10 levels you'd get one if you had, like, the premium edition or something. It was some weird system that if you had paid more, for the upgraded edition, maybe it was pre-order or something like that. But point being, yes, there were the premium ones. Yes, they had exclusive cosmetics, and yes, for most people that meant that they had to pay if they wanted them. But you don't. It's all cosmetics. That's all it is. Now, Battlefront. It's insane to me that EA has some of the best and some of the worst microtransactions I've ever seen.
Yeah. Like, how do they manage to do that? Why can't they just be in the middle?
They are on average. Because they're always one way or the other. On
average, but not in practice.
One of my favorite things about EA microtransactions, one of my favorite examples is Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012.
Right.
This game has DLC that has not gone down in price, by the way. The game itself is $20. The DLC still costs $50.
Right.
When not on sale. What's funny, though, is you might have heard me talk about this because I bring this one up a lot if microtransactions come up. Most of the DLC cars are as good as the best cars in the base game.
Right.
Now, it's not one $50 thing. It's several cheaper things. The pass that gives you all of them for cheaper than buying them all individually is $50. Or it might be $40. I have no idea. But it's, expensive. They're all... If you're in a lobby full of sweats and they have the DLC, you don't, you lose. Good job. Try again, go next.
Yep.
It's that simple. If someone is driving the best DLC car and you don't own the DLC, you are not winning if they are at least as skilled as you are.
Uh-huh.
But that one specifically is not an EA exclusive. I mean, that's also literally how they sell new characters in live service games, including paid live service games.
Yeah.
That's how Smash sold new characters. That's how League sells new characters. That's how Smite sells new characters. That's how Overwatch was selling new characters until they decided to make them free, which... Rare Overwatch W? Goodbye, Dueling Book. Thank you for crashing. I wanted you to do that. It's good.
Oh, no.
It's good. No, it's good. I wanted it to crash. It's fine. All according to cake. Oh, I searched 9 in the... I was wondering why I couldn't get them. I'm like, I swear there was a 93 in their name. There was, but I searched it in the card name. Number 93. But fucking... Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't hate that, honestly, though, when... Situationally. If it's something that you can get without paying, and or it's something that's not going to affect the competitive game modes, then I'm okay with them just pumping out a broken thing, whether it's a gun, a character, a card, a deck, whatever. I'm okay with that. Because they're going to nerf it before it hits comp when they do that in games that have that delay. I genuinely think that that's a perfectly fine thing to do in either case, but especially in both games. People be like, oh man, when, these character comes out, it's like, oh man, this new character, and let's just say hypothetically that in For Glory, DLC characters were banned until the first patch after they were released, right? Theoretically.
Right.
People would have still complained just as much about Joker, even if For Glory, and I know it's not called For Glory in Ultimate, but even if For Glory and tournaments were banning Joker until the first patch, and then he's fine, people would still have complained just as much, because that's what people do. But at the end of the day, that, I think, in my opinion, is just enough to make that an okay thing to do. Yes, it's going to incentivize people who wouldn't have bought it as soon to buy it sooner, but the only incentive at that point is just, if the character looks fun, I mean, you could argue it's doing FOMO because you're not going to get to play with them in their most broken state, except for the fact that you absolutely can. A little harder than on PC, but on console, you could absolutely get a game rigged to a specific patch and play on that patch. You can do that.
Yep.
It is possible.
Uh-huh.
It's like, It's only slightly less valid than people who use Halo battle passes as an example of FOMO marketing. Are most battle passes marketed on FOMO? Yes. Is it absolutely ridiculous to use Halo as an example of that?
Also, yes.
Also, yes. I know I've talked to you about this before, but just that period where everyone was doing video essays about battle passes and live service, and the live service things were all about battle passes. Just stop using Halo as your example, please.
Yeah.
He's not
like,
making the snens.
I don't know if I've talked to you about it, but like, it's weird. 343, one of the few credits I give them is they do the predatory microtransaction stuff more friendly than...
Yes. It's still predatory,
like,
but it's consumer
5,
friendly at the same time, in some regards.
Like Halo 5's rec packs, you know,
They're
back
so
then
easy
people
to
were
get for free.
complaining about it. They're so easy to get for free. I completed everything for free, bar like a couple of purchases I was willing to make.
I can do almost anything I want in Firefight, provided I can find a lobby. And I've barely played Halo 5.
Yeah.
Like, that's how easy they are to get. I have, like, probably less than 24 hours in Halo 5, and I could literally run whatever loadouts I want in Firefight. Yeah. Speaking of credit to 343, oh my god, Halo 5's... It wasn't called Firefight, and I don't remember what it was called, but Halo 5's Firefight is such a cool mode, and I want it back. I almost want it back. I do.
Warzone, in the mode you're thinking of, is Warzone Firefight, specifically.
I want it back more than I want back original Firefight, for one reason.
Bigger maps.
We already have original Firefight, because Master Chief Collection is still very much alive and kicking. Actually, for that matter, so are 3 and Reach. So if I want to play 3 and probably ODST. So if I want to play 3 ODST and Reach Firefight, I have literally 2 options for each of them.
Yep.
So, like, I don't need more of that in Infinite, but I would love to have 5's iteration on it. I think it's such a fun mode, and I've only played a handful of games of it, and lobbies are literally impossible to find for it nowadays, and it sucks. You can't solo it. You need a full lobby.
Yeah.
But it's so cool.
The only people really playing Halo 5 nowadays are, I think, people still grinding for fucking Achilles.
The thing I don't like about Halo 5's multiplayer is that a lot of the maps are kind of boring. And on top of that, most of the maps have, like, almost no guns anywhere. And it's, like, the same 3.
Yeah.
It's like... You might find does 5 have the DMR, the battle rifle, or both?
It has both.
It has both, okay. Then I've definitely seen
It has,
both.
like, 5 variants of both.
Well, okay, it has, like, 20 variants of everything because of rec packs, which I also think was cool, because the variants, I mean, but, like, the variants that I'm referring to also only mattered in a couple of game modes. And if you didn't like those, just don't play those game modes, or play the PvE version of those game modes. It's that simple.
Yeah.
It's avoidable. That's the other thing about that's the other thing about Halo 5. It's like, not only are these things insanely easy to get for free, you can also just avoid them in PvP scenarios.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah, my issue with Halo 5's maps specifically was just how they handled Forge maps. It really upsets me because instead of keeping the good maps from a previous rotation, they just yeeted all of them. And now the Forge maps left in matchmaking after the last update were very mid, if I remember.
I think that a good way to handle that would have been, while it was still actively being kept up, yeeting everything to cycle them. I think that itself is fine. What you should be doing is keeping track of response to the maps. You put in an all-star roster when you're done with the game. That's what should have been done.
Yeah.
I think the yeeting is fine.
That would have been good.
But plus, if
like,
you have
there are Forge maps from
map
launch of Halo 5, the ones that were made in development, that were really good.
Yeah.
That just aren't in the game anymore.
Speaking of really good Forge maps, holy shit. Can we just talk about how good so many of Reach's Forge World maps were?
Yes.
Like, it came with, I think it was like 8 or 9 Forge World maps, and most of them are incredible. They're the only reason I care about doing anything in Forge in Halo.
Yeah, granted, the launch maps for Halo Reach's Forge World stuff, like, half of them were remakes, I think.
They had the Blood Gulch one, yeah.
No, like, actually half of them were remakes of other maps. That was an entire thing they made a point about.
Yes, and that's fine. But the thing about them being remakes is they don't feel like the original maps, or at least not all of them do.
No, the visual style very much helped with that.
No, not even the visuals. The shape of the terrain and the scaling of some of them changes everything. You're on bumpier terrain in a much smaller canyon in Reach than in the original Blood Gulch.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I prefer it, even for huge full lobby fuckfests. Like, I still prefer Reach's version. Now, I grew up with Reach, not the original. But I also grew up with Red vs. Blue. I have a lot of affinity for the original Blood Gulch.
Yeah. The same.
But I'd be lying if I said none of the gameplay preference comes down to nostalgia. But I really have played both, and I still like Reaches. Yep. I still like Reaches, and I don't like ones. And that's fine.
Played the original Halo Combat Evolved. Or, no, Original C didn't have online multiplayer, did it?
It did not.
That was added in Halo 2.
Yes. Original
I'm thinking of the Halo 2 Blood Gulch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because original Halo 2 had some Halo 1 maps, right?
Yeah, most of them were slightly redesigned, but yeah.
Yeah. But then Master Chief Collection Halo 2 doesn't. Because fuck you. Well, because you can already play the Halo 1 maps, but...
You can play classic Halo 2 multiplayer in MCC. Along with the Anniversary multiplayer. They're separate entities.
Which is also weird, because, like... What if I want to play Halo 1 Anniversary multiplayer?
Well, that was just Reach.
With a slightly different map pool.
Pretty much, yeah.
What if I want to play with that map pool? And not the exact Reach map pool?
Yeah, MCC doesn't have that.
I know that it's minor, but I wish that it did.
Yeah.
But they have all the Reach Forge World maps, baby!
Yep.
That's all I need.
Yeah, back to Halo 5 with the variants. I wish more Forge maps that actually made it into matchmaking used the weapon variants, because there were some cool ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just a DMR with a light rifle scope, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that was super cool. I wish that were used more.
They did so much, and you didn't have to pay a penny beyond the initial for it. And it was so cool.
And it was funded by those easily obtained microtransactions that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people complained so much about the rec packs, and it was like, no, the rec packs single-handedly made Halo 5 a viable game.
Yep. And if you didn't want to pay for them, just play the fucking game. It's that easy.
Like you didn't have to pay to get everything from the rec packs, aside from, again, the couple of random ones that were like promotional ones and not even serious ones.
And they weren't even that expensive.
No, like the most expensive was the Voices of War pack. That was like $20.
Yeah. It's just it's because people see type of thing and want to complain.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just people stereotyping things. Like, one of these is bad, so they must all be bad. It's how a lot of just assumptions of that nature form for a lot of people, and it sucks.
Yeah. Like, Halo 5's rec packs were easily obtained just from playing the game and grinding and having fun, a concept most gamers do not understand.
Well, okay, to be fair, I wouldn't say playing Halo 5 was fun, but if you were having fun,
I
all the
enjoyed
better.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
If you were having fun, all the better.
And the actual purchases of rec packs funded DLC for the game.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of DLC, mind you. Halo 5 actually had a fair bit going for it. And it funded the World Championship prize pool.
Mm-hmm.
Halo 5's competitive scene was the most seriously taken by a developer competitive scene I've ever seen. Outside of maybe like look backs at CS:GO comp, but like, yeah.
I also think that another thing that a lot of gamers do that bothers me is like, okay, should we acknowledge and criticize when developers and or publishers, because it's usually publishers, but devs can absolutely have a hand in it, if not be the entire problem. We should acknowledge when devs and or publishers rush games out the door for one problem or another, regardless of one problem or another, for some random reason. It's stupid. It sucks, and it leads to releasing unfinished games, and that's the industry standard now. But we should also acknowledge, people do not acknowledge enough, in my opinion, there are many, many, many games that have put in a lot of work to fixing the problems that they launched with as a result of these decisions.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's fair to anyone to ignore that. Oh, nobody cares if it's fair to the publishers. But I don't think it's fair to anyone to ignore when those changes get made.
Yeah, and with a lot of games with that issue, you can kind of tell when it's the game was pushed out and they're fixing it later, versus the devs of the game trying to fix a game because it was pushed out.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. What's harder to tell is whether the devs or the publisher were the ones that didn't care if it was ready. Because, again, the default assumption is that usually you're thinking it's the publisher, because usually it is. Yeah. There are absolutely cases where the devs just do not care. Overwatch 2. I will die on the hill that the Overwatch devs are the problem.
Yeah. But that's kind of my point, though. Like, you can much tell
the problem as
when
the publishers.
Devs love the game that they make, even if it's completely broken and the publisher forced it out, versus devs that are only patching it because they're getting a paycheck. You know?
Yeah. Like Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky are two of the best examples in, I was going to say recent history, but I guess this whole thing is only a decade old. They're two of the best examples of that, of the dev had to push the game out early, meet deadlines, and it was a horrible mess, and everyone knew it. I think the reason that they stand out so much as well, and the reason that I always use them as my points of reference for why I think GTA 6 is going to be a big deal for the landscape of gaming moving forward, is because those two games have one big thing in common that not a lot of games of this variety have had to do, and that is they had to give refunds under legal threat. That's how bad the games were. And look where they are now.
Yeah.
No Man's Sky is everything it was supposed to be. Cyberpunk is everything that it can be with current technology that it was supposed to be. Of course, my favorite joke is, Cyberpunk is launched so broken because they released it 50 years too early.
Yeah, I can imagine later on down the line when we get more, powerful systems and everything, we just get an updated Cyberpunk that's like, this is what we promised.
A Cyberpunk remake that's everything they promised is genuinely probably on the table, but we're at a point in technology where we're going up so little that I think we're a long ways off from it. If we hit another big spike like we did in the 2000s, but from where we are now, I think that we're going to have the Cyberpunk that everyone expected and wanted and that the devs wanted to make. The thing with Cyberpunk is, and we know this, the devs wanted to do it, and they got told, no, it needs to be out the door now. You've delayed the game enough.
Yeah.
And they had to push it out, but they did fix it. And then there's games like Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate, which have proven you can just finish a game,
Yep.
I also think that a big thing for GTA 6 as well is going to be whether or not Rockstar treats its online and offline as separate entities the same way they did with 5. Because I genuinely believe that the way they treat the online and offline in that regard had a lot of bearing on 5 and will on 6. Because a lot of people love GTA 5, but hate GTA Online for a myriad of reasons. And for their own sake, Rockstar got way ahead of the game they've never considered GTA on. They've never treated GTA Online like it is the same game as GTA 5. And to be fair, for all intents and purposes, it's not. And I got into a debate with someone over this. It didn't get heated, but it was whether or not you should treat them as the same, because like they come on the same disc. Was basically the crux of why they should be the same game. You buy one, you get both.
You can download them separately though if you get digital though, can't you?
No. Because GTA Online is part of GTA 5. But critically, if we're talking about physical copies especially, do you have any idea how many games there are? I mean, even if you're talking about digital copies from games, do you have any idea how many games there are that are collections or bundles? I have two games installed on my Steam library on this PC that are, one of them's 4 games, the other is 6 games.
Yep.
But that's one game. Should I treat Mega Man Battle Network 1 through 3 and both versions of 3 all as one game? As 3 games or 4 games is its own debate, but as one game or multiple? Duh, it's multiple. I mean, you can grade the package as a whole in the case of something like that, but I don't think that it's reasonable to grade my Switch cartridge that has Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces on it as one package.
Right.
It's just... Now, GTA 5 is also different. It was intended to release both ways, and they're not, remakes or re-releases of anything. But I think that with GTA 5, it is worth considering them separate because they really, truly always were, at least by the time we had an idea of how Rockstar was treating them, separate entities, just held within the same set of files on the same map. And I think that's fine. I mean, they were treating them separately before they got really bad with their stuff, so I don't think that they're just doing it to cover themselves,
Right. I mean, the other argument with that same logic, pricing, because from a gaming perspective, as the player, you look at these collections as a set of games, not just one disc or one game or whatever. But then, pricing-wise, nobody is going to pay the price of 4 games.
You're not going to pay $200 for 4 $50 games.
Yeah.
But you'll pay $60 for it. Or $70 now. But... Yeah. Actually, to be fair, with the collections that I was... Okay, yeah, with the Battle Network, it's like you're paying for $160 worth of games, because game prices... Games used to be $40. I grew up with games being $50. And then I remember learning
I never really paid attention to the prices when I was a kid, but when I started paying attention was when they were 60, and that's just sort of been the average ever since.
Yeah, it was I think it was 40 through the 80s and 90s, and then here's the thing though. All of the price increases, except for 60 to 70, have made sense.
Yeah.
40 to 50 made sense. Production costs were going up, and games were getting a hell of a lot more impressive and complicated and difficult and expensive to make.
Yep.
It made sense. 50 to 60 was the same thing, because 40 to 50 happened, I want to say that was N64 to GameCube. That might have been when we were transitioning to 3D consoles. It was one of those two. It was either the first or second gen of 3D consoles. 50 to 60 was, I want to say, what, PS3 360 gen? The if that. No, a lot of games were 50.
Definitely on.
No, it was the Xbox One and the PS4. It might have been later in the PS 360's life.
Probably later in the 360's life. I remember stuff like Halo 3 being $60 though.
I could also see Halo specifically selling for more money.
Maybe.
And
but I also remember Wii games being around 40, I think.
Wii games were
it wasn't the entire generation.
50.
Oh.
But Wii games also came from a lot of different publishers. It's, probably random shit sold for 40. There were premium titles that definitely sold for 60. There was a range, but I know generally the Wii was floating around 50.
Right.
I know that by the time the PS4 came out, everything was 60. That was the norm.
Right.
But we also happen to
60
know
was the norm by the PS4 era.
Yes. Going into the PS4, that was what you were expecting. Going into the Xbox One, that was what you were expecting. Going into the Wii U, that's what you were expecting.
Yep.
But it made sense. less for the Wii U, but to be fair, the Wii U actually had I from what I've seen, it seems to have been a nice mix of 50 to 60. It really did just depend on the title. And honestly, that makes sense for the Wii U. I do not regret paying $60 for Xenoblade Chronicles X. That was worth it. All right, technically I paid $200 for Xenoblade X and then spent another $30 to make sure that I didn't waste money in case I didn't like Xenoblade X, and also so that I could say I didn't spend $200 in Xenoblade X, because $150 of that was my Wii U. But I bought Xenoblade X for $60. And I'd do it again in 2024. Some games I will stand by are worth the price no matter how old they are. TTYD is worth $60. And it sold for $50.
Yes.
TTYD could sell for $70 and I would buy it. If I had the money, of course. But just like, assuming that having the money isn't a factor, in a heartbeat, TTYD is worth $70. Some games are worth that. Call of Duty is not.
No.
But some games are. I would absolutely, all of the Xenoblade games are absolutely worth $70, except for maybe X. Also, if we're selling Torna separately, but that's because that's fine at a price point of like 30 to 40, which is where it sits. But like, yeah, there are games that could have sold for more because they're that good. And I think that's, I've seen discussions about this and like how we should be pricing games from like the perspective of what makes sense. And it's like, it doesn't matter. It's not a discussion that's going to change anything, but there are genuinely some games that are worth these crazy price points, and some that are probably worth never having gone up to begin with. And
yeah, I mean, it's also entirely subjective. You can't really price things based on opinion of games. Like, you and I agree that TTYD would be worth $70, but like some other people might not, you know?
I think what it comes down to, though, is like there are measures of quality. You know what I mean? And like, not everyone's going to like something, but I do think it's reasonable to say that TTYD would be a reasonable $70 game. I think that you could argue that it's high enough quality in both the original and the remake, and enough people would absolutely pay for it at that price point. Okay, here's what's crazy. A lot of remakes in the last 5 or so years, people have that have released at full price, people have complained about.
Yeah, no, people want it to be priced the same price it was before.
Or lower, because you're paying for an old game. I haven't heard a single complaint about TTYD's price point on the Switch.
I heard about it not long after the announcement. People were saying, like, I don't think they announced the price right away, but people were saying, you know, this is going to be a $60 game, and it shouldn't be. It should be a $40 game because that's what it was on the GameCube. And it's like, shut up. That's basically what it was met with. Like,
I mean,
they were kind of laughed out of the room for that one.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing is, like, I'm sure that there was, because there's always going to be with remakes. But normally it's like, if you pay remote attention to a remake in its build up and its early release, everyone's whining about the price. TTYD, that was the minority. It seemingly the minority, instead of seemingly everywhere.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to the fact they could have absolutely bumped it up to that price point, and people would have still, the complainers would have still complained. There'd probably be a few more, but I don't think it would have dented the game in the slightest.
Probably not.
But they also chose not to. I just love the fact that we know the only reason the $70 price point is a thing is because Sony was just like, money.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's literally confirmed.
I mean, even before Sony started charging $70 for things, like, there were murmurs about it in the gaming community just because the prices of everything are going up. People were like, I wonder if games are going to go up again.
And
you know?
We know they didn't need to, but then they did. What I think is interesting about the $70 price point is that it really is, like, it is not everything still. And I'm not even talking about Switch games. I mean, it is just a game comes out for $70 and then another comes out for $60, and you're just like, what's the reason? And you know the reason, and it's just who's releasing the game or on what platform.
Pretty much.
Cardfight Vanguard Deer Days released at $70 with a $70 expansion that you could buy. Honestly, a fine enough price point for what it was, but also it probably was only 70 and 70 because Vanguard games historically have not sold well. That game sold well enough to get another $70 expansion, which was, you know, a bunch of, because the first $70 expansion was a bunch of cards up to X set, and that set wasn't even out in paper yet, and it would release shortly after paper in game. And then that was what the second one was. It was the same thing again, where it was up to X point, which we were nowhere near in paper, and we got there, and I don't think they did a third one. But the reason they did all of that $70 price point is because the handful of Vanguard games that have released previously have always flopped. I think part of that problem is that they've all been Japan exclusive. The reason Deer Days got a global release,
a lot of games will just die because they never leave Japan for some reason.
And they wouldn't die if they did leave Japan. Because some things have an audience in Japan, but not an audience of gamers.
Yeah.
I think that's a thing that just, like, it's really weird. Is this Dino player pivoting into Snake Eye combo? Be even funnier if they're pivoting into Ascent combo. Embassy's flag! Okay, we're summoning Thunder Dragon Colossus, gamers! It's aged me approximately 60 years! But... fucking... oh, God. I was not ready for the Colossus line. What was I saying? Fuck, that distracted me.
I'll be honest, I forgot to.
Shit. Fuck, what was I saying?
Is something about gaming prices?
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, right, Deer Days. But yeah, the best-selling Vanguard game sold as well as it did for 2 reasons. 3 reasons. Number 1, it was released at a time with a lot of people playing the game. It was early-ish V-era, if not mid-V-era. I don't remember which. No, it was mid-V-era because we had the funny boy. We had the funny T-Rex in Tachi. Why don't I fucking remember his name? I don't know. The fucking weird T-Rex guy. So yeah, it was like year 2, I think, like mid-year 2 of V-era, and the game released. But the key thing about Vanguard is that in the time between its previous game on the 3DS and the release on the Switch was they did a reboot, which was half nostalgia bait, half we don't like the way the game is going, so we're going to take it 10 times as far before we nuke the game and start over. And this time it's not optional, you assholes. Because it was the second time they tried to reboot the game. The first time they said, if you guys want this, we'll do it. And everyone said no. So the second and third times, they said, all right, the answer is yes this time. So far, there is no 4th time yet. But because it was in a really strong time for V-era gameplay, importantly, a lot of people were paying attention to Japanese news for Vanguard, because English news for Vanguard is just Japanese news for Vanguard on a much longer delay. Because of how releases work. And Bushiroad knows that we're all paying attention to the Japanese reveals anyway, so they don't even bother. They have started bothering with certain things recently, but on the whole, it's just like, yeah, okay, well, they know everyone's watching and translating the Japanese stuff. Who cares, right? But because of this, the entire Western audience knew that Cardfight Vanguard EX was coming and that it was not releasing outside of Japan. So a bunch of people made Japanese Switch accounts and bought the game. Now, it didn't sell exceptionally well. but I genuinely do not think the Japanese audience is why the game sold so well. And I'm fairly confident that that is also why Deer Days got a global release.
Yep.
Because last time
and
people were making accounts specifically for that game in a country they didn't live in.
Yeah. And to be fair, in the modern digital era of gaming, region locking systems should not be a thing. Like, it just shouldn't.
Yeah. I mean, at least with, mobile games and the case of Vanguard EX, it's a case of it's not region locking the device, it's region locking the account, which is still annoying, but you can deal with it. Just make an account in another country. I mean, people do it to play games early all the time for like pre-releases too, so it's like it's whatever. Because some pre-releases are it releases at this time, no matter what time that is for you. Other pre-releases are it's midnight your time, have fun.
Yeah.
And that does not depend on your platform. It literally depends on the game. Because some have done both historically on Switch, some have done both historically on PlayStation, some have done both historically on Xbox, and some have done both historically on Steam and Epic.
Yep.
It is literally just whatever the publisher decides.
Yeah.
Nintendo likes
it really is a matter of opinion.
Yeah. Nintendo likes the game releases at midnight your time, but the update releases at this time no matter what time that is for you. So just do that for your game releases too.
Like, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like,
I get why you would do it for the updates, but maybe they don't trust these services.
As soon as possible, generally, and then game releases midnight your time kind of makes sense to me because it's like they're not marketing towards the diehards. They're trying to sell to the casuals. A casual player will have pre-ordered the game digitally or whatever, and will probably go to sleep before midnight, like a normal person, and wake up after the game comes out and not be stressed about it.
Yeah, but at that point, I mean, you could just target it at one region and just be like, all right, this time zone gets it. Whatever, who cares?
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I mean, and at that point, it should just be whatever the country of the company is doing. Like, I think that if Nintendo's the publisher, it's just have it release at, midnight Japan time. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, like, EA.
I mean, I'm talking specifically global releases,
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, though. Is like, if you're doing a global release, I think the best way to do it is give it to everyone at the same time, but just midnight on the day of choice in your time zone as the publisher.
Right.
So, for basically every American game, Pacific time. 3 a.m. on the East Coast.
Central time, so everybody shuts up.
Mountain time, so everyone's confused. Alaska time! That'll really break their brains. Alaskan time, baby! Oh my god. Dude, you know what's crazy? You know that there are, like, a bunch of countries in continents that aren't North America that break their time zones up just by country? And, like, it makes sense when you look at the lines. Like, they're relatively reasonable. But then you just have this, you have a couple spots where you're just, like, shutting out to the east in one time zone just because some country border goes out that way. And it's just like, sir, why does your time zone have a bulge? Is that a gun in your time zone, or is it just happy to see me?
That depends. Are you asking about America?
America doesn't have any of those. North America has a couple of weird juts, but, like, they're not usually lined up with borders of any kind, is the weird part.
I thought it was, like, state borders.
No.
Oh.
No, there are quite a few states that are in... Probably a couple of the juts are state borders, but there are several states in multiple time zones. Half the reason I know this is because I've driven past "You are now entering X time zone" signs, and they are never state border signs.
I see.
Yeah. They're very separate and usually far away. But yeah. Some states exist in Timson. I mean, there's Arizona exists in 2 time zones, but that's only because they don't do daylight savings. So it's not at the same time. It's a different. It depends on what time is it. How far behind me are you? Depends on what time of year it is. Huh? This I only know because I had a group of friends that lived in Arizona. I actually know where they lived in Arizona too. Not like address, but I know the city. It's near Phoenix. But it wasn't Phoenix. This is Ritual Beast going up against fucking sharks also. This is fucking this wacky shit. But yeah, I mean, there are definitely games that even if you don't like them, I think you could absolutely argue are worth. And then there are games that sell for $70, and even if you like them, I don't think anyone's gonna argue that Call of Duty should be $70.
No.
I will grant, I know some people get mad about this. I am okay with the fact that they sell games that are cross-generational for higher price points. Because some people, I've seen people get mad about, like, some games will be like the Xbox Series and Xbox One dual release of a $60 game, and it's $70, and like, I should just be able to buy the game and play it on both. Could you do that for the 360 and the One? Could you do that for the Wii and the Wii U? No. Well, I mean, okay, yes, but that's because the Wii U is backwards compatible. You get my point, though.
And also, to be fair, here using the Xbox is a bad example because they actively do that.
Not on release of the One, they didn't. That took a long time.
Well, not on 360 to One, but One to Series, and any games that are cross-gen are
but
single purchase.
Not all of them. It's a specific set of, like, Microsoft published, and then whatever the publisher says for whoever's publishing it. But there are a lot of games. There are a lot that do that, and there are a lot that don't. But there are a lot of games where people complain about it, and it's just like, okay, but like if this were to happen last generation, no one would have complained. Everyone would have been like, I can play this on the new console and the old one? Crazy. You know? Like, I can buy it for my old
still would
have
system. Complained about the price back then too.
I don't think so. Because okay, so here's the thing: if you're paying $70 for something you could pay $60 for, or pay $50 for, or you just get both for $70, not much to complain about. Well, okay, people would complain because people complain, but
if you're going, if you look at it from the perspective
if you're going from the 360
combined prices,
yeah, if you're going from the 360 to the One, paying an extra $10 to get the game now on old hardware and have it when you upgrade your hardware, I think a lot of people would have been really happy about that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's funny seeing people complain about it because it's just like any other generation, and you wouldn't have even had this option. You would have had to buy the game at full price twice if you wanted it on both gens. Now, if you're not upgrading your hardware till it's cheaper, you have the game, and you'll still have it, even if it's not backwards compatible, on your new hardware. It don't matter.
I do think part of the issue comes from platforms just not being backwards compatible anymore.
Yes, and another part of the issue, like you said, for doing it on Xbox specifically, is the fact that several publishers are just being like, yeah, just you buy it on Xbox, you have it on PC, Xbox One Series. If it works on the 360, fucking play there too from one purchase. We don't give a shit. Play it on the original Xbox if it runs.
I've only seen the pair of consoles, but that's because I buy physical and the actual box is on
if it also works on
with
PC,
disc have the icon for both. Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of games just run on both. Part of the reason that works as well is because, like it or not, this generation of consoles is barely more powerful than the previous one, especially because most people have the higher spec versions of the PS4 and the Xbox One. They are
the series
not that much
is
better.
just a glorified one. It just is. I hate that.
They are, I would say, about the same percentage increase, not knowing a ton about the tech in them, but understanding enough to know that we haven't moved forward that much. It's why it's been so long.
Yeah.
It's like, I think because that's why the gaps keep getting longer between console generations. Because, like, if you're not Nintendo, there's nowhere to go from here right now.
Like, the form factor change makes me think, there's some sort of technological advancement, but it's not a spec advancement. It's a scale
system, but not by much.
Yeah.
But
yeah, like I think I've told you the story before, or of how I bought Halo Infinite for my Xbox One, my launch Xbox One. It was causing heating issues.
Yes.
And I bought a Series X so I could play Halo Infinite. The Series X was getting just as hot.
Yes.
I think it was handling the heat better, but it was still heating up just as much.
Yes, because Infinite on release was not a well-optimized game.
I'm not even talking about release. Like, it was still doing it last time I played.
Oh. Damn. That's unfortunate.
Granted, that was months ago, but,
I also have a base model one, and it does get warm playing Infinite, but my PC doesn't. But my PC is also 6 months old, and the parts in it are probably less than 2 years old. So, I say probably because Ender knows what's in this thing better than I do, because he bought it. And he probably doesn't even remember what's in it, because, it's a laptop. But it's good, but also, like, I think it's also really funny when PC gamers, because, some PC gamers are like, oh, one of the reasons PC is better, they'll be like, is because we don't have to buy a whole new console every few years. And then they'll
$3,000 graphics card says what?
They'll throw a collective fit on Twitter when a game comes out that their shit can't run because it's like 5 years old. Like with Starfield.
No, you don't have to buy a $300. Yeah.
Crazy thing about
you don't have to buy a $300 console. You have to buy a $300 graphics card.
You have to buy several multi-$100 parts.
Yes.
You can buy old stuff, but then you'll have to replace it sooner. So you have to choose: do you want to replace more often or more expensive? Starfield was a crazy release to me because there were a lot of people saying the game ran poorly. Yeah. I promise you, Starfield runs fine. Yeah. I promise you.
And like, modern gaming era for PC is kind of like, they do kind of have an advantage there because, like you were saying, the technology has slowed down in advancements. Like, if you build a PC now, it'll probably last a good while,
Yes. I mean, there's a very real chance we don't get another console generation the rest of this decade. Just think about how long the last gen lasted. I mean, they're from what, like 2012? And it lasted like 10 years, didn't it? Almost.
And to be fair, there's still constant rumors of a Switch too.
Well, the Switch is different though, because Nintendo's behind in technology because they're doing so much more with their systems than just making them beefier. A beefier Switch would be enough to sell a console.
Next generation, the only console is Switch 2.
Yeah. Well, depending on how you
look at it, Nintendo ends up a step ahead in the console generations.
Well, because Nintendo's, depending on how you look at it, either a few years early or a few years late every time.
Yeah.
They never release at the same time as everyone else. That's how I see it, because it kind of makes sense. Because they're also usually
I think it would be funny if they make a next console and it's like that's the only one of that generation.
That would be funny if everyone else just like skips an entire generation and we don't get a new Xbox and PlayStation until like 2030. I think though that if you do want proof that the PS5 and the Xbox Series are not that much more powerful than the 1 and the 4, how many games do you know of that can't run on the old gen that run on the new gen? How many are exclusive to the new gen?
For Xbox, not many. For PlayStation, they're desperate. They're making things exclusive that don't need to be exclusive.
there are absolutely games that Xbox is doing that with, and that are multi-platform releases that they're doing that with as well. And I don't think everyone.
But Xbox has more games.
Yes.
Like, I think there's a Twitter counter of how many PlayStation exclusive games there are, and they're up to like 5.
I remember, oh my god, PS5 marketed a bunch of exclusive launch titles, and one of them was Deathloop, and the PS5 marketing was going to launch as a PS5 exclusive launch title to the PS5. Do you know what it came out on the same day the PS5 came out?
PC.
The Xbox Series.
Oh.
I believe also PC, but yes. It was added to Game Pass the same day it came out, despite being a launch title for PS5. Or an early title for PS5, I don't remember which. It was marketed as an exclusive on PlayStation and came out everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Good job, Sony. Yep. Your exclusives are playable on Xbox.
Uh-huh.
That's that's the funniest thing about PS5 game list to me, is just that they marketed not just as a generation exclusive, but a platform exclusive. And it came out everywhere and is on Game Pass. I could play it right now if I wanted to.
Yeah, and like I've seen people complain, or not complain, but make fun of Microsoft for trying to put their games on other platforms, right? Because that's the thing that's happening. But the difference is Microsoft is offering their games to other platforms.
Yeah.
Like, Microsoft has that luxury, Sony does not.
Yep. I think the funny thing is, of the 3 console manufacturers, I think that only one of them could sustain long-term making all of their exclusives multi-platform on all of the consoles. And I think that's Nintendo. Because their consoles always have more selling point than just the hardware or the games. Well, not just the hardware, but just the power of the hardware. Because things about the hardware other than the power sell the consoles. I mean, the Game Boys were the handheld. There was never a handheld with as good of a selection, and that was only partially because of Nintendo's exclusives that needed to be exclusives because they were published by Nintendo.
Yeah. I mean, the selling point for Nintendo systems is the games.
Yes,
is the thing.
Yes, but also here's the thing, right? Here's
like
the
if
thing,
Nintendo
right?
went multi-platform, they wouldn't really make consoles anymore, I think.
Here's the thing, though. There are a lot of Wii games that don't need motion controls, but are better for having them.
That is true.
You can't take Xenoblade with you in your pocket if it's on your PlayStation. You can if it's on your Switch. You can't play it in the other room if it's on your Wii U. If it's not on your Wii U, I guess. You can on the Wii U, if we want to give that one a point. You can't play your PSP games in 3D! You can on the 3DS.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they will or should, but I think that it would hurt them a lot less. I think that it would be
that argument's also leaning into the hardware gimmick that Nintendo seems to have been going for ever since the Wii. But like, if you look at GameCube titles or Nintendo 64 titles or whatever, like if they went multi-plat back then, there's no difference between a GameCube game on the GameCube and a GameCube game on the PlayStation, or
right.
You know.
But because they've started selling their consoles on not just the games, but things you can't do elsewhere, even if you are playing the same games, there starts to become an argument of, well, they could do this, and they would lose a lot less, if anything of note, from it. And I'm not saying that it's bad of them not to. I've seen people be like, publishers shouldn't be allowed to force a game to be on one platform. I'm like, if they're publishing on their own platform, fuck you, Valve shouldn't have to let Epic publish, sell their game. That's insane. I think that second-party publications also work. Like, if a company owns a company that they publish for, that should be as valid as first-party. But no, Nintendo shouldn't be able to buy the rights to third-party game number 786. That should be the dev's choice.
Microsoft.
Yeah. Last time I got into this discussion with someone, they brought up Epic as an example. You know what the difference with Epic is? And they shouldn't be able to do what they've done. But you know what Epic does better than other platforms that do this? They don't buy, usually, complete exclusivity of titles.
Right.
They buy timed exclusivity deals. And it's genuinely... It's a gamble to do a timed exclusivity deal with Epic. Because there are two things that happen. Number one, your game's dead and gone by the time it releases on other platforms. But the other one that people don't talk about as much, that there are provable examples of, almost all the major problems get worked out, and then the game releases on Steam in the best state it's ever been in. And a bunch of people that never saw those problems outside of maybe some videos are now buying the game. Sales you were going to get eventually anyway, but now they're just going to keep playing, telling other people to buy the game. It's a gamble, just like anything else.
Yeah.
But with the timed exclusivity deals, it benefits people who wait to buy the game on Steam because they never have to deal with the early state of the game. Now, of course, the cost is you're going to have to wait for it, but you also don't have to. You can just go buy the game on Epic. And I think that that's like, if you're going to do exclusivity like that, again, I don't think it should, I do not think that a publishing platform should have the ability to buy out something that they do not own as an exclusive. I just don't think that should be the case. If they come into possession of the company or the IP in mid-development, that's whatever, but they should be owning and funding the company if they're doing that.
Yeah.
But with the way things are right now, the fact you can do that, I think Epic does it the best. Because it's just like, it's, again, the amount of games that do, they release on Steam in fantastic states when their actual launch state was a bit flickery. Because you can put the exclusivity deal money into fixing the game before
fixing the game.
And whatever's wrong with it, whatever's left of your budget, and then that goes into fixing whatever problems there might be on launch that you didn't catch in testing, or if you got rushed out the door by your publisher who got paid by Epic to make it a type exclusive. All of this time to work with it. I mean, if Cyberpunk had gotten that deal, because of how unpopular Epic is, either Epic would have become a much more popular launcher, or a lot of people would never have seen Cyberpunk at its worst. Not that I'm saying it's a good thing and that it should have happened to them necessarily, but you get my point.
No, but I understand the example.
If it happened with Cyberpunk or No Man's Sky, a lot of people would never have seen the game in the states that got the refund issues going.
Yeah, no, the absolute crazy complaints for both of those games would have been significantly less if it was a Epic exclusive, just because it's a smaller platform.
Because it's essentially, because of how from what I know, most of the people that use Epic use it for free games and timed exclusives, and that's it. One or both of those things. Well, okay, realistically, it's you're using it for free games or both, because if you're using it for timed exclusives, you might as well take the fucking free games because you're playing off of their launcher anyway. But I mean, what it essentially is a paid beta. In the case of games, in the case of games, it's not marketed as one, and it shouldn't be treated as one. But because of how publishers handle games, you already know you're playing a paid beta if you buy a game day one. It's almost guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
If you know you're doing that, but on a platform that's going to fix everything before it, well, the platform's not going to fix, but on a platform where they're able to fix everything before they ship it everywhere else. Ta-da! Or you could be like Sega and just release Colors Ultimate in the exact same state because you literally never patched it once. Oops. I don't regret buying that game on Epic, honestly. I don't care. I'm glad I got to play the game earlier than waiting for it to come out on Steam. It's fucking whatever. But yeah, Sega did not handle their timed exclusivity correctly. Sega was just like, yeah, we'll do that. Thanks for the money. And 2 years later, all right, here you go, Steam.
Yep.
Like, why? Thinking. Yeah, like I don't remember what it was, but there was some game that I've seen. It was one of Thor's shorts. He used like 2 games in the same short as an example of why like it can actually really benefit devs. And I'm like, I was already on the train of this is better than actual exclusivity deals, right? Like if we're doing these and we're doing these, you might as well do them right. Only one company does them right. And then one does them so wrong that they screw themselves with Deathloop, and their name is Sony, where they think the game is exclusive for some reason, and it just isn't. Does that count as false advertising? If you bought a PlayStation 5 when you had an Xbox already to play like one of the games that they advertised as exclusive, and then it came out on a platform that you already had, could you go after Sony for falsely advertising to get you to buy a product? Huh.
Yes, it depends on
Probably.
what was stated between the statement of exclusivity and then the game coming out. Now, like if there's a small update that
Well, yeah,
nobody
because
actually
I
paid
don't know
attention
what.
to that said this is no longer an exclusive, it's just coming out everywhere, you know, like
Yeah,
then
well, the thing
you'd be
is,
fighting a lost cause.
Sony had this ad running on YouTube where, like, I don't remember what the exact text was, but it did say that they were PS5 exclusives that were being shown off.
Right.
Like, it was explicitly stated you could only play all of these games on PS5. At least 2 of them. There was Deathloop and one other came out on Xbox on day 1 of the game releasing. And this ad ran after the PS5 had released, gaining money. However, if you're telling people, hey, our platform's the only place you can play this game, which forms, and I mean, it's